about getting that pack train here. So where we're at is Custer's in the number 2 position on your map. He just got done giving orders to his brother Tom to send a second message back to the pack train. I gave when I gave you that one. It's in that second. So he sent Tom Custer back, or sent him to give a message to get the pack train for a second time. And who did Tom Custer give the message to after he wrote it? Giovanni Martini. And Giovanni Martini heads back. He runs into Boston Custer on his way to the pack train. And Boston Custer is trying to catch up with his brother because his horse played out of him and he's on foot. Martini gets back to Benteen, and Benteen asks him all kinds of questions which would seem normal, and Martini was very hard to understand, and Benteen didn't get his questions answered very well because Martini was of Italian descent and he could not speak or understand English. So Custer's still at the number 2 position on our map, so pay attention to that. Okay, he's at the what they call the mouth of Medicine Tail Coulee, where Medicine Tail Coulee runs into Cedar Coulee. Yes?
Okay, so you know how he said that he didn't understand English very well? How did Custer send him then?
Because Cook told him he understood enough to go back to Benteen. But that's why they write everything down. Yeah. Okay, now, so Custer travels through the narrow Cedar Coulee. He sends another note back to try to get the pack train hustling up. And at this point, at number 2 in your map, Custer divides his column into 2 prongs. Okay? Captain Yates was assigned companies E and F, along with Lieutenant Algernon Smith also went with Yates. So Custer's dividing his column into 2 prongs. He assigns Captain Yates, we've talked about it before, G.W. Yates. He assigns Captain Yates to companies E and F, and he also assigns Yates Lieutenant Algernon Smith. And then he assigns Captain Miles Keogh, who we've talked about before, companies C, I, and L. So what did Custer have with him? He had companies E, F, C, I, and L, right? So he divides his regiment into 2 parts at the mouth of Medicine Tail Coulee, right at the end of Cedar Coulee. And he gives Captain Yates companies E and F, and he gives Captain Miles Keogh companies C, I, and L. It's Keoghh. So he splits them up. Okay, and he gives each officer, he gives Yates and he gives Keogh their orders on what to do. You'll need to know this. So again, after traveling through the narrow Cedar Coulee, sending a second message back to Benteen for the pack train to hurry, Custer then divided his regiment, which was C, E, I, F, and L. He divides those into 2 prongs. He gives Captain Yates companies E and F and sends Lieutenant Algernon Smith with him. And then he gives Captain Miles Keogh companies C, I, and L. Once he splits them, then he gives each person their orders. He gives Yates his orders, he gives Keogh his orders. Okay, here's what he said to Yates. Custer gave Yates the order to do this, and you can see it on the map. Yates and his company were to ride directly down Medicine Tail Coulee and charge into the village across the Little Bighorn River. Do you see on the map where it says that? Number 4 shows where he divides his columns, and number 5 shows Yates' charge. You see that on your map? Okay, you need to know that. So Custer gives Yates the following order. He's going to take Smith with him. He's going to take companies E and F, and they're going to ride down Medicine Tail Coulee and charge into the village across the Little Bighorn River. Do you see that on your map, what they're doing? So that's what Yates is to do. Take Lieutenant Smith and companies E and F and charge down Medicine Tail Coulee toward the Indian village across the Little Bighorn River. Okay, you can see the river on the map. Keogh was then ordered to stay on the higher ground above Medicine Tail Coulee on an area known as Nye Cartwright Ridge. And it's on your map, so you should be able to see this. Nye Cartwright Ridge. So Keogh is to take companies C, I, and L, stay on the higher ground, you can see it on your map, and advance to Nye Cartwright Ridge. That's marked by number 6 on your map. Okay, so let's go through that because you really need to know this, and look at your map because your map's crucial. Custer gave each officer his orders. Yates was to take Lieutenant Smith, ride directly down Medicine Tail Coulee, and charge into the village across the Little Bighorn River. Keogh was to take his company, CI and L, and stay on the higher ground above Medicine Tail Coulee and get to Nye Cartwright Ridge. What do you think he's going to do from there? Very good. Provide support for Yates during his charge. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's what the story is. Now, if you look at the map under number 5, does Yates make it to the river? No. According to history, Yates and his companies were met by Sioux chiefs Gall, who you've heard of, and Two Moons. And on your map, it's referred to as Gall Attack because he was the chief guy, so to speak. So according to history, Yates and his companies go down Medicine Tail Coulee. They make their plan to attack across the Little Bighorn River into the village, but they don't get to the Little Bighorn River because they're met by Sioux chiefs Gall and Two Moons, along with about 50 warriors. Okay? So you need to know what happened there. You can see it on your map. Yates charge on number 5, and you can see where Gall is attacking straight at him. So again, according to history, Yates and his companies attack toward the Little Bighorn River and are met by Sioux chiefs Gall and Sioux chief Two Moons, who's on your ID sheet, along with 50 warriors. Now, according to that map, does it look like Gall and his warriors pretty much stopped the soldiers in their tracks? And they did. And in that charge and that resistance, many of Yates' soldiers lost their horses, fell off their horses, or their horses spooked and they lost them. So they're on what? Foot. Okay? So if you look at that, where that arrow point is on Yates' charge, they've all been pretty much stopped at that point, and many of the soldiers that Yates has lost their horses, and they're on foot. So Gall and Two Moons and the warriors are in control of that area at the point. Now, according to history, there was really very little firing of weapons on either side during that exchange. How would we know that? What? Yeah, when they in future years when they did the digs, they didn't find very many cartridges there. So it was kind of a quick attack, and they met resistance. Basically, what happened when Gall and Two Moons met there is they attacked very aggressively. They startled the soldiers' horses, and a lot of soldiers were thrown off. Not a lot of gunfire done there, because we can tell there wasn't many cartridges. So what does Yates and his command do? They turn and retreat towards what? Look at the map. No. Nye Cartwright Ridge. And there are many of them are on foot. And what are they going up there for? To get protection. To get up there where Keogh and his men are, right? Okay, so you got to picture this in your mind as you write it down. So they attack, they're thrown from their horses, so they skedaddle back up towards Nye Cartwright Ridge, many on foot for protection. So what do you think Keogh is doing as he watches this? What is he doing?
Gets his men prepared.
Well, they're up there already, so what's he doing as these guys are retreating hastily, many on foot towards the ridge? What? Shooting volleys. For 30 minutes, Keogh stays on the ridge and his soldiers fire volleys into Gall's warriors, trying to relieve Yates and his company as they're skedaddling back up the Nye Cartwright Ridge. And you can see that on, it says Yates retreat, okay? And you can see number 6, Keogh advances, fires volleys into Gall's warriors for 30 minutes. So were they even up at Nye Cartwright Ridge yet? Keogh, they saw they were in trouble really before they got to the ridge and started firing volleys to protect them as they try to get up into protection. So what's your big question now? Where is Custer? That's your next subtopic. That's really important. Where is Custer? Okay, he split the division up into 2, right? But nobody really knows where he went. Did he go with Yates or did he go with Keogh? So our next subtopic, which is very important, is where is Custer at this point in the battle? A different theory. That's one thing we really don't know. Okay? And so we're going to talk about it. Okay, here's the question. You don't really need to write this down. I think if you listen to this mainly, it'll be better for you. Did Custer stay with Keogh because he thought the biggest portion of the battle would be in the north? Or did Custer stay with Yates and lead the charge across the river, then fall back to Nye Cartwright Ridge? Okay, we don't know that for sure. Nobody knows. Now, some Indian accounts that we found out later stated that Custer did charge with Yates, but he saw no hostiles when he reached the river. Just listen. The warriors had charged to fight Reno in the valley, then on the ridge of retreat, and the women and children fled for safety. So what does this say? Is that there were no warriors there. Was there many cartridges? There were no warriors there. That they had charged to fight Reno. They weren't back yet. And the women and children fled for safety. Now, some Indian accounts claim that Custer decided to pursue the women and children, and he thought of capturing them and holding them hostages. So one Indian theory is during that Yates charge that Custer was there, and the reason they turned is because there was no warriors there. All they saw was women and children. Now, how would we know if any of this is true? Because is Keogh alive to tell the story? Is any of these people alive to tell the story? That's why I want you to consider thinking. Now, what would be the strategy by capturing the women and the children?
Hold them as hostile to the reservation.
That's exactly right. Very, very good. Custer would have held them hostage and told the Indians, you will not get them back unless you go on to the reservation. Because wasn't that the goal in the first place of this campaign?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the story says that once Custer located the women and children who went and hid, there were so many to capture, he just went back to Nye Cartwright Ridge to be with the rest of the battalion. That's the theory. Okay? History will tell you more that Custer probably stayed with Keogh and went up on the ridge and let Yates charge. That's probably more probable. But there are theories out there in Indian accounts that he actually was with Yates. They charged toward the village. They didn't cross it because there was nobody there. The women and children had fled, and the warriors hadn't got back from the Reno activity yet. And so he thought of pursuing those Indians, but being he couldn't find them very well, and there were so many, that he just decided to go up in the top of the ridge. We don't know. That's just a different theory. So let's kind of go back and talk about reality a little bit, and what we really do think we know, which is the next subtopic, the battle continues for Custer's men. Okay, so where are all of Custer's men right now, according to history? Where are they located? At what specific location? Nye Cartwright Ridge. So put yourself back at number 7 on your map there, and we'll explain this to you. So as Yates' command scrambled to the top of Nye Cartwright Ridge, Custer ordered Lieutenant James Calhoun and Company L to advance up the ridge. Okay, so you take number 7 and you see Lieutenant Calhoun takes Company L and deploys the skirmish line until the rest of the command can rejoin them. Okay? Now, what was the purpose of Custer telling Calhoun to advance up the ridge and to dismount and deploy a skirmish line on the ridge? Because They're not really at Cartwright Ridge yet, are they? Okay? Now, you see what Calhoun is doing? Can you see him going along the ridge? Where's he going? On your map. To an area now known as what? No, not that far yet. Let me read this to you again. As Yates' command scrambled to the top of Cartwright Ridge, Custer then ordered Lieutenant James Calhoun and Company L to advance up the ridge. Calhoun's command was to dismount and deploy a skirmish line up the ridge near present-day Calhoun Hill. You see Calhoun Hill on the map? Okay, so where is Custer and Keogh at this point? They're at Cartwright Ridge. Where is Calhoun? Calhoun Hill. And what's the idea? What's Calhoun doing? He's continuing to provide protection for who's trying to get up the hill? Yates' men. Okay? So basically Calhoun and Company L were to hold the oncoming Indians in check until the rest of the command could get organized and rejoin them there at Calhoun Hill. So what Custer does, he's up there with Keogh and the rest of the 7th Cavalry. They're waiting for Yates' men to get there when everybody they believe is possible to get up on Cartwright Ridge. The 7th Cavalry rejoins Calhoun and Company L at the skirmish line at Calhoun Hill. And what's right below it? What's that ridge now called, according to your map, where they're all at now? No? Battle Ridge. So what you have is you have all of Custer's men on number 8. Okay? Custer, Keogh rejoined Calhoun. We'll get to the division in a minute. So at this point in the battle, they're all at Calhoun Hill, guarding themselves along a bluff area known as what? What's on the map? Battle Ridge. So do you picture where they're at on the map here? They're on Battle Ridge. Tomorrow, we're going to tell you that Custer again is going to divide the 7th Cavalry. He divided them once, they rejoined, now he's going to divide them again, and that division will be the final division before disaster attacks. Okay?
Dividing your forces.
I'm going to try to take a picture of this map and get it on the computer so I can shine it up on it. That's right, help you
With this picture, dividing your forces and that thing.
Well,